will talk to you about the RHET 110, Core 110, new courses. In preparation for, in the next couple of weeks, Julie will send out an email asking you to make your teaching preferences, indicate them. And so we thought you might need this very brief overview session so that you can know what's out there if you have not been teaching those things this semester, or if you want to do something different. If you find that you're interested in a particular one or two of those themes, the place to go to find out more about them, the detailed syllabi, the assignments, and all that is the new courses website. So today's session will just be very briefly giving you an overview of the themes. Richard asked me the question yesterday that you might want to know, how long will we have 101, 102, and 201 still offered in the RHET department? And the answer to that is as long as anybody who entered AUC in fall 2013, whether they entered in ELI or in RHET, will do the new courses. Anybody who entered AUC before fall 2013 are in the old system. Even if, so there are people in ELI who, when they go to RHET, they will do 101, 102, and 201. So for at least 3, maybe 4 more semesters, provided everybody passes, we will be offering some sections of the old courses, but those will be every semester shrinking, and we will be offering more and more of the RHET 110 and Core 110, RHET 120. Carol starts with an overview of the freshman courses.
All right, and you have a list of new freshman Core 110, RHET 110, 10 new courses. And watch out, we're going to try not to use the Core 110, RHET 110 designation too much, because even the numbering system will be changing to 1010 rather than 110. We're going to go to a 4-digit system, but for right now, it's 110. And this new program is an outcome of 2 years of work with a task force that was asked to redesign the freshman program so that to meet university and faculty criticism of and standards for better communication skills and critical thinking skills. For freshmen coming up into their majors, there were complaints that they were not prepared enough. So this redesign is one way of trying to meet those outcomes better. And it's an experiment. It was being piloted by a large number of sections this semester, and hopefully they will get enough feedback to really revise and refine the courses so that they're much easier to teach next semester. But we can think of these tandem courses in several ways. And this is the closest graphic example that I could find to illustrate it. If we think of this in the middle as a central theme, then we can think of classes of learners all studying the same theme and doing the same type of work around that theme. But another way of looking at it is for every 2 around the perimeter, and I know the numbers aren't perfect here, but let's say these 2 could be considered a tandem course. And how do we define a tandem course? It's the same group of learners, so here we have the same number, the same class of students taking 2 courses that may be taught by the same teacher or different teachers. Sometimes it's not possible for the same teacher to teach both courses. One course is the Core 110, and from now on we'll start calling it the small seminar course, and one is the RHET 110, or the analytic and persuasive writing course. Okay, and these 2 courses are linked thematically. Now, what unites these courses is learning outcomes. These are learning outcomes that were created by the freshman program to address, and we've got very specific ones, I'm just giving you the broad general ones, to address critical thinking skills, and in this case, both courses address critical thinking skills. Specifically in the first semester, the skills of analysis, synthesis, and some evaluation. The writing skills. In the first semester, analysis and persuasion. In the second semester, with the new RHET 120 or 1020, it will be research skills. Critical reading skills of summarizing, responding, interpreting, and connecting between readings. Oral communication skills of discussing, presenting, leading discussions, and debating. Information literacy skills, such as searching for information, doing keyword searches, evaluating sources, and citing them in writing, are found in both courses. And collaboration skills, communication, cooperation, and showing respect for others' opinions. All of these are outcomes that we're trying to foster in all freshman program courses, but more particularly and intensively in these two tandem courses. How does it work? Well, there's a big question or critical issue theme, and you'll be hearing 7 themes, and you may want to look for more information on a new website, a Google site, that has been created in the RHET department called New
RHET Core.
New RHET Core. It's written on your handout. In the small freshman seminar part of the course, there's more of a focus on critical reading in a variety of genres, which might be nonfiction prose, fiction prose, either a whole novel or short stories, might be poetry, it might be film. There are a variety of genres that we introduce students to through these courses. There's more of a focus on oral communication skills through either individual or group presentations, debates, leading of discussions, and even discussion of how to participate in a class discussion. So students develop a sense of voice, both in the classroom and in their writing. The focus on writing in these courses is more as an exploration of ideas and of the content that students have been exposed to. There are a lot of either reading journals, learning journals, response papers, blogs, more informal writing in which students engage with the content and material and readings. There is some reinforcement, though, of formal writing skills, and in many, if not all of those courses of the small seminar courses, there's at least one formal paper, preferably toward the end of the course, in which we hope to find skill transfer from the RHET course into the core course, and content transfer from the core course into the RHET course. A large part of this tandemization is so that students will not see their writing courses in isolation, but as connected to content courses, to the small seminar course at first, but to see connections to other courses as well. So the formal writing skills are reinforced, collaborative teamwork skills are introduced usually through a team project, and there's use of sources in different projects and other parts of the course. In the analytic and persuasive writing course, of course, there's focus on the writing skills of analysis and persuasion, with usually 1 less formal narrative paper and 3 formal essays. There's a focus here on process writing. In the core course, it's just 1 paper per assignment. Here, it's the process, multiple drafts, and feedback by either peers and or instructor and conference. There's more of a focus on finding, evaluating, integrating, and citing sources in the formal essays. However, there are critical reading skills. There are different readings in this course, but they're related. Especially at the beginning, there's more relationship, a closer relationship between the readings. In the last 2 formal papers, it's sort of pulling threads of ideas from the core course, but maybe not quite as related, so that students begin to see the applicability some of the ideas and concepts, but maybe in a different realm or different discipline. There's usually one oral presentation, but it counts for much less, so it's a reinforcement of oral presentation skills and uses of sources in the formal way. So that's how the two courses relate. Now, Lada will tell you about some of the courses that have been piloted this semester, and I'll talk about a couple of them. Yes?
I think this needs to be also displayed or taught to the students, because until now, I'm teaching a core course and they're saying, why are
What's
we
the
doing this?
relationship?
Yeah, the relationship. So I think as an introduction, during the introductory class of each of the written report, this should be taken out of the students.
Well, and I'd be happy to share this. You can put it up on the new RHET Core website, and every teacher can have access to the PowerPoint at any point in time, even starting tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, the point of the tandem courses is that students should understand the relationship between them, where they're taking content that gives them ideas for writing, and they're learning writing skills, but of course they're critical thinking skills in the other course. Where's the other, Carol? Where's the other slide?
Sorry, it's
It's down there.
a different one, yeah. It's a different one.
Okay, Carol's been over, this is the same, all of that.
You could mention what courses.
Yeah, this semester, 7 courses, 7 themed courses, 10 courses were offered. Different numbers of sections for each, and those 7 are listed here. So, and they are being piloted this semester, so we are not done teaching one semester of them. And throughout the semester and at the end, course developers are taking feedback from teachers, and we're trying to do it in an organized way through websites, through formal feedback sessions. And so the courses as they stand now on the website will probably change based on student and especially teacher feedback that comes to us at the end of the semester. Those will probably be the ones where teachers next semester will be asked to choose from, because what we're doing is, if there is a new theme, what we've learned the hard way is to offer only one section of it the first semester. It's being offered to be taught by a course developer so that we can sort out the kinks in the course in one section rather than 10 sections.
So we're going to just double check so I can follow you. So like students in spring
Yes.
are going to be offered these and they choose one section of each, right?
Yes, one,
They
just
choose.
one, not one of each. They have to choose, it's always a core 110 or a RHET 110 they have to choose. When they choose their core, they have to choose one of those
these,
things.
yes.
And there's others too,
Right.
but those will be the ones that you all will be offered, because the newer ones are still being piloted. And so only the person who wrote the course will be teaching that section. They won't be offered as a preference for anyone else. Okay, the first one was written by Andy Young, Creative Expressions of Resistance. And the theme that is discussed there is very interesting. How do artists express resistance? And some of you here can tell us a little more about this theme. But the course focuses on various forms of artistic expressions: poetry, music, visual art, comics, and how resistance against oppression and different forms of resistance are expressed in those forms of art. Andrea was inspired by the political events in Egypt, but she didn't want to create a course about the revolution. She wanted it to be more, timeless, I guess, and not related to a particular event, and having more appeal to different kinds of students who are not so politically inclined. And the modules are divided into, each module has, focuses on a few weeks. Literature as a creative form of resistance, creative revolutionary responses in Egypt. Then they look at autobiography and reinterpreted narratives, philosophies of resistance, creative responses to oppression, and then music and humor, wit, and celebration. And so there's a lot of variety, but at the same time, one theme. Maybe Sam, do you want to tell us something about this course since you've been heavily involved?
Sure. I mean, we're only in week 5 right now. The first, what I've discovered so far is, I think this issue's been raised already, but there is a little bit of confusion with the students as to what the purpose of the core courses are, and so I think that it's valuable to communicate what we just saw to the students to make sure they're aware of the relationship between RHET and core. But having said that, the first 4 weeks of the session went very well, particularly when we blend both the sort of academic texts with the creative responses, particularly the poetry and the films. We've moved into Egypt now, and I haven't really spoken to other instructors, but it's a little bit of a dicey situation, and so what I've been doing is I'm sort of nibbling around the edges of the current political situation, putting the themes present in Egypt in different contexts and relating them back to Egypt, which has been working out quite well so far. Our next session is Persepolis, which is an Iranian graphic novel, which I'm excited about. I'll spend 2 weeks dealing with that, and then putting on a creative project in a group format. So overall, it's been working quite well. The other instructors and I have made some modifications, and we all have our own thoughts on ways to sort of enhance the course, but I think it's a very, very valuable course now.
Thank you. Our reality and our perception of reality is formed. How much of our beliefs about what's true rely on how we see it rather than on really objective ways of seeing it? What affects our judgments? How reliable are human perceptions and memories? How many realities are there? And how can we depend on them? How does science factor into all this? How conscious is much of our decision making? And how can we make sure we are like developing different ways of looking at things, or do we want to do that? The inspiration that Susan was actually teaching this theme in one of her RHET 102 courses, and it was very promising, and she decided to kind of transform it into a seminar course, a Core110 course. And she has done a lot of reading on perception and memory and how these things relate to our beliefs. Different readings and themes. Each course has main readings and some other suggested readings, and this is a list of some of them. A lot of them relate to memory, and these are some interesting ones about how reality can be distorted depending on the kind of environment you set up. The obedience to authority experiments. And the main assignments in many of the Core110 courses are not extended writing assignments like they are in the RHET, but they revolve around reading reflections, journal responses, videos, presentations, and those kind of assignments that prompt critical thinking and teamwork and oral presentation skills. This course was written by Yasmin, Imagining Exile, and it talks about, Yasmin relates that many of her students, most of her students except one this semester, want to move away from Cairo. And this is such a pertinent theme for Egyptians, not from Cairo, from Egypt. This is such a pertinent theme in the social class that's characteristic of AUC these days. This would be very appealing to our freshman students who are trying to figure out priorities and ways to decide and weigh advantages and disadvantages. So this course takes them on an actual exploration of what moving to another country is and what it entails and who you become and how you become part of a new homeland and do you become part of a new homeland. And the inspiration for this course was that many of the recent events have created this discussion all around us, and we've all seen people considering this or trying to move away from here. And it's not just an issue in Egypt, but it's a global issue that needs to be discussed. The modules almost take the student from the personal to the questions they will experience along the way of moving to another country, and then it brings it back to the personal again. So it's like a full circle course. How do you decide whether you should go or should you stay? What do people have to go through? What do refugees have to go through? How does fitting in happen, or does it happen? Is language a factor? Is our interests a factor? If you decide to go to another country, can you come back? Can you actually belong to two countries, or do you become a different person? It's those kind of themes. And then they have this presentation at the end where they present who they will be and what their imagined exile will be like. These are the main texts, and they revolve around stories of and discussions about people who either fit in or don't fit in, along with some other shorter readings. And the activities and assignments are in the core class also revolve around blogging, reflections, comparative paper, and projects. This course this semester, I think, is only being taught by Doris. No other teachers are teaching it, is that right? And Doris examines how filming develops an understanding of borders and perceptions of race, and how they can examine international interdependence, cultural diversity, consideration for values and traditions through looking at films of different cultures. This course is based on an actual text where she takes many of the readings from it and from others, and they will look at how to read films as though they are texts. So treating a film to look at different ideas, compare them, and have different interpretations. And it builds up also to a project at the end of the semester. The modules that they will explore, presented through different films as texts, are framing identities, how filmmakers illuminate stories that frame identities of the self and others, and border visions, indigenism, invisibility, more marginalized populations. How are these presented in film? And negotiating the politics of difference. How films present or predispose viewers, and how you can read the ideas in films to to come to conclusions or to adopt beliefs about race identity itself. Carol will talk about our heroes and demons.
Okay, Sanat Mahmoud is the designer of this, the RHET. And it sounds like a very interesting course. I'd be interested in teaching this myself. And it's very timely because these are issues that are being discussed all the time. Is someone a hero for a while and then does he or she become a demon and vice versa? So she wants to examine through the course what a hero is and how our modern concept of heroes differ from classical concepts, perhaps, and how we can come to terms with the heroic in ordinary people as well. So she does it through looking at folk tales, myths, films, and other textual explorations. She works through 3 main modules. In the first, she looks at the old idea of the heroic and looks at Joseph Campbell's idea of the hero with 1,000 faces. And students at this stage, I believe, are reading the text, The Alchemist. So they look at stages of heroism. The second part of the course deals with the villains or demons or the fall from grace. And she even looks at what's called the Lucifer effect, where psychologists have done different things. The one she looks at is when they had people play the role of prisoners and jailers, and it was a role play, and people became very abusive when they were not in the prisoner role, when they were in the prison guard role, and what that means about the human condition and evil in everybody. Historical demon, she looks a little bit at history, and then she looks at kind of reconciling the two and the modern idea of maybe the fallen hero or the hero who's demonized and then turns into an ordinary human being. And I think she's got a project toward the end where students will try to come up with a conclusion themselves. And these are some of the texts. As I said, The Alchemist, the Joseph Campbell Lucifer Effect by, what's his name? Zimbardo. And a little bit on folk tales as well and how they portray the heroic. And the Heroic Imagination Project, which came out of from Zimbardo about his findings on the Lucifer Effect, as well as reading Faust. And the assignments are between critical comparison papers and journals. So she's got a lot of writing. I'm not sure what the other percent is. There may be a project at the end. So that's the Heroes and Demons. Now moving on to the Who Am I course that Leonard Holdyke designed. Many of you may have already taught that. Come on in. This is a course that's subtitled Explorations of the Self and Human Consciousness Across Disciplines. And I think it came a lot out of Lammert's holistic approach to homeopathy and the whole human being. But it also kind of focuses in on the student's kind of interest in himself or herself. So what's your number one preoccupation? Me. How would you like to expand your thinking? Depends on what's in it for me. And there's a lot in this course for the student. It depends a lot on experiential learning and students' reflections on their own experiential learning. It starts with looking at the neurobiological right and left brain. There's a section on perception, memory, the effect of drugs on the human consciousness. And the automatic brain, he does a lot with typologies as well. The students go through a Myers-Briggs typology inventory and look at other typologies as well. He gets a lot of, the course gets into Jungian psychology a little bit and different personas and the shadow projections. And then it gets into social norms and into the social self. And students have to do a little exercise where they violate cultural norms and reflect on that. And he gets into Ken Wilber's cultural values and spiral dynamics. And then toward the end, it ends with the spiritual and religious dimension. Students do usually instructor-led meditation. And then it ends with a meditation and discussion of near-death experiences, the effect of coma on the human consciousness, death and the afterlife, and there's a very interesting death meditation that one can go through with one's students. I didn't do it the first time I taught the course, I did it the second time, and it was a very profound and moving experience for me as well as the students. So it sort of looks at the whole person and the whole self from different perspectives, very different disciplines. This is Ken Wilber's Cycles of Spiral Dynamics, which we won't go into, but the students kind of touch on in the course. The assignments in the first half of the semester is about inner states of consciousness, objective factors, and it ends with an in-class exam, a take-home synthesis essay, but learning journals as well all along the way. In the second half, it's about reflection, it's more about the wider social norms, and students, through their logs and journals and response papers, create a book about their selves, or their different aspects of themselves as a final project, as well as making a presentation. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Who started? Okay. The next course is a course that I developed called The Human Quest, Exploring the Big Questions. And the big questions in weeks 1 to 4 are who am I? And the modern version of that is how can we maintain our identities in an age of globalization. During this part of the course, we read the book on identity by Amin Maalouf, do a couple of other short readings. In the second sort of module, or the second big question in looking at where we come from, we focus on why some societies have come to dominate others and use the book Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. 9 out of the 19 chapters are used in the Core110 class, and in the RHET 110 class, they pull a 10th chapter out to examine as an argument. In the weeks 10 to 12, we examine what it means to be human in a variety of art forms, in looking at what the arts have to tell us about the human condition. This is where we look at some of the same themes in the first half of the course, identity and human domination of one group by another, but from a literary point of view, through poetry, one or more films, and short stories. In the final weeks of the book, we look at where humankind, where we are going, where each student is going, and they choose ethical issues that are facing either people in their disciplines. The class chooses a topic for debate. The students split into 2 teams, a closing ceremony team and a debate team, and these are their team projects for the end of the semester. Source of inspiration for me as I was designing the course were first of all reflections on my own undergraduate experience and what had stayed with me 35 years later after graduating, and one of the things was the idea that one should examine these big questions before one enters a profession. In my case, it was in an education class in becoming a teacher, but I extrapolated that to any student wanting to enter any profession should and could explore these questions. I had a lot of discussions with my son, Michael, who is an AUC grad, and other AUC students as I was developing the courses. This course asking them what engaged them in their life as an AUC undergraduate, and what did they feel they didn't get that would have been nice to have. I also was reading a lot of ELI student essays on their problems in their first semester at AUC, and found that lost and confused was a big theme. So I tried to design the course to lead them from this lost and confused position slowly through academic skills that they would need in their programs. And finally, the 2 main texts that I use, especially Guns, Germs, and Steel. When I found this on a bookshelf it sort of spoke to me and said, read me, I've got some answers for you. And it was around this text that I kind of designed a lot of activities in the course. And then when I realized I wanted to focus on who am I, on identity became a very logical choice for students at this time. Okay, in terms of the learning outcomes, those are the learning outcomes that we talked about in the freshman year, and they're assessed, the reading and writing skills are assessed through reading journals, a reflection paper, a critical comparison paper, and a midterm exam. Their oral communication skills are assessed through 2 or more students giving chapter presentations on guns, germs, and steel, through a class participation grade, and through the final debate or closing ceremony, which they have to do in class, and then everyone has to write a team-generated report. And the other skills, as you can see, are assessed in either the debate, closing ceremony, chapter presentation. And really all of the critical thinking skills are assessed in all of the assessments. Okay. Now, the next series of courses, Antonio will come up and present his first, are going to be piloted next semester. And as Rada said, taught only by the course designer. But this might be something you might be interested in teaching in fall 2014, when they will have been reviewed and refined.
So please forgive my cane and my limp, but I designed this course was based on a course that was taught here last semester by Dr. Eric Malin. And Dr. Malin was a visiting fellow from Duke University, and there he's the director of Duke Engage, one of the largest civic engagement projects in the United States. And they send undergraduates all over the world on civic engagement projects. So it's really fantastic. And when he came here, he designed a course for MEPI students. These are students from various countries in the Mideast to come here and on a scholarship, and with a promise that they'll get civically engaged and learn about civic engagement. And so I teach his course this semester. And I'm teaching those students, and we're learning about civic engagement and leadership and the importance of it, exactly what it is. And it's a great course, so it seemed natural to take some of those readings and work them into a course like this. It's a I'm very enthused about it. I think it's a very interesting subject. The course first looks at the connection between human rights and social justice, and evaluates the way these concepts are protected and promoted. And then the course focuses on citizens and what part they can play in promotion of these concepts. And there's a significant, there's an underlying principle that's throughout the whole course, and that is that there's a significant relationship between education and what happens in education and what happens in society. So what we're talking about here is teaching these students to be civically engaged so they can take that into their roles as members of the society, and hopefully make a society that has attributes or has problem solving by them, and they play their part as members of society. So we're going to examine the university and the potential of service learning and student learnership there. Now this is built on a community-based learning platform. So what the students do is they join, the way I've designed it is that they'll join one of the civic engagement clubs here on the university campus. There's 12 of them. And then they'll play a part in that civic engagement, learn about civic engagement in the class, and then as one of the main projects is they will design their own civic engagement project. They're working groups to design their own civic engagement projects. Hopefully those civic engagement projects are good enough to maybe start something here on campus and get a hold of what is more, I kind of see as fractionalized effort. And I think the next slide is the assessment. And what I have them doing is the response papers, because there's 280 pages of reading based on about over 20 articles. And so I have to assess that, and I've done that through response papers and presentations. The students have to present some of the reading, so they'll get up as a group make a PowerPoint, answer questions, ask questions of the class, and that works really well to get them involved in the readings. And then there's also a portfolio, and the portfolio is meant to have them make sure that they're downloading the readings, that they're critically going through them, making marks on the readings, and becoming engaged with the readings. And then to learn about civic engagement, there's this proposal and an evaluation. That's where they're evaluating the civic engagement of this university, and then making a proposal, how to change that, how to make something new. And there's a number of reading questions that are explored in each week. You know, what are human rights and how do they differ? How we've been successful in protecting them? What's civic engagement? Why it's important? The idea is that through civic engagement you learn about leadership, and leaders emerge from civic engagement experiences, and those are the leaders that become leaders of the country of tomorrow. And without civic engagement, and without those leaders emerging, what you have is a vacuum, and that's filled by leaders who don't care about the society, they care only about themselves. So hopefully, I think the course has got a lot of transferable skills that they can take with them. That's all. Okay, is there any questions? And the next one is A Beautiful Mind in the 21st Century. Who's going to talk about that?
I'll try to talk about it. This is not a familiar course. It hasn't been taught yet, but it will be. Yasmin has developed this course. She will still teach it next semester, and she noticed that in the transition from the old campus to the new one, the inscriptions on the wall are some of the things that AUC decides to bring forward or use as their mottos are slightly different. The first, in the old campus, this top quote was at the top of your hall: "Let knowledge grow from more to more, but more of reverence in us dwell." In this campus, I don't know, where do we see this? The illiterate of the 21st century will not be.
It's in the core brochure.
Okay. Will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So she perceived this as a shift in how we learn. And this course is about the student, how they will make their educational experience here at AUC personalized to who they are and what they want, and how they will explore what they want to learn and choose their courses. And it's quite an important idea to explore in the first semester, because many of those students are undeclared. And they examine what education means, not just to them, but in the real world, and what different things can they do with the liberal arts, and do they have to be stuck in a career because they majored in it. And they talk about the traits of successful people, outliers, 5 minds for the future. These are some of the texts. And the modules are organized around some readings: The Academy and Its Discontents, Learning Minds, The Disciplined Mind, and The Synthesizing Mind. Different ways of thinking and how they can serve us to grow in our cognitive and career skills. Advertology.
Okay, this is the course that we and Shereen have developed in collaboration and supposed to be running next spring in Toronto.
Advertology is a course that adopts an interdisciplinary overview of advertising with a lot of readings and activities that are in tandem with RHET. So, as you can see,
Advertology explores the role of advertising as a pervasive media vehicle, as well as a powerful force in shaping attitudes and behavior. So students will investigate advertising from multiple perspectives, both as a mirror reflecting the values and attitudes already existing in society, as well as a shaper of those attitudes. Also a shaper of how people see life, see themselves, see the world, especially when it comes to their values, behavior, and ways of choosing and behaving. By the end of the course, students also will be able to come to an understanding that as it has a very important economic and political value or benefit, it also has a corrupting influence on culture and cultural values. So in order to enhance their knowledge and their skills in critical thinking, we expose them to different sub-themes. So these
There are mainly 6 sub-themes in the course. The first one is the advertising message, and it looks at advertising in terms of what kinds of messages are being portrayed through ads, and looking at advertising as some sort of art and what are the different types of advertisements. This leads to a discussion about advertising as creative communication, and you're looking at basically the techniques that are being used in ads and how ads addressing desires and needs and emotions and even creating false needs, desires, and emotions, and also what are the different ways of decoding ads. The next theme talks about advertising and its relationship to neuroscience and the latest trends in measuring consumer behavior in terms of neuroscience and neurology. Also, the next chapter addresses concepts and ethics that are related to advertising. Some of the concepts that are being addressed are like shoppertising, subliminal messages, product placements, and we're not looking at the techniques in terms of how they are necessarily used in advertising, but how are they also misused, and what are the ethical issues that go around their use in terms of whether that is cultural or social. Okay, also we have a whole sub-theme about advertising and culture, and talking about the relationship between advertising and culture, and going back to what Shireen has said in terms of, is it a shaper or is it a mirror of culture? And we look at different criticism targeting advertising from an ethical perspective. And we end with advertising and consumerism. We'll talk about advertising effects on consumption and its relationship with stickers consumption as well.
When we come to assignments, we have a number of reflection papers that students are asked to write throughout the semester. The focus will be on the depth of the concept or the analysis, as well as their ability to express a personal take on the concept introduced. They won't be more than 500 words, so there are many papers throughout the semester. We have the design and ad in print. And actually, they will not design an ad like the regular ads that we think of, but they will design, this is some sort of a reflection, self-reflection, but in a form of an ad. So as if they are selling themselves, okay, in a form of an ad in print. That would be actually the subject of their analysis paper in the RHET component. So that shows you that they will be working in time. The ads will be evaluated based on the creativity of the ad, as well as their ability to express an understanding of the techniques and tools that would contribute to making that ad a very good ad. Then we have another assignment that is the concept presentation. That takes us back to what Sharuk said about the different concepts introduced, like mosquito advertising, product placement, subliminal messages, whatever the list of concepts that we will introduce the students to. In groups, they will have to research the concept and then introduce it to the class in a presentation form. Then we have the ad campaign project that is actually the final project for the course, where students again will be working in groups, and that will have 2 stages. They will present a mini proposal of the concept and the rationale of their choices, as well as a presentation to the rest of the class. Then we have quizzes. Quizzes will take place at the end of each module to make sure that they have really grasped the concepts being introduced. Also, we have the textbooks. We do not have one textbook. We have multiple chapters from different books. So among them, not all, We have creative advertising, the marketing power of emotion, short TV drop, among others. We have also videos and some films, so we have crazy people, and we even have this Arabic one, Wahda Wahda, or the Fankush film as it's known. And we've asked somebody to have subtitles for it, so we have
Okay, I think what this is a seminar 199 course that Kathleen has written. Only she is piloting it. So, and it's got a very exciting theme, exploring the human spirit through extreme situations. What does it mean to push the limits of the human spirit? And how is this expressed in literature? And here are some texts. I will go very quickly through this because now we need to wrap up and we have time for one or two questions about the Core 110, RHET 110.
we've never done quizzes before.
We've never done.
Quizzes.
And no, those are the core classes, not the RHET classes. Yeah. The quizzes, because the core courses are content courses, you can have quizzes. You can take it, this is just a list of the themes that we have. No. Yes, Rob. Thank you for coming.
No, I'm sorry I was so late, but I just wanted to say, we just are getting used to Core 110, now we have to be used to 1010. And I actually think we should just call it 1010, right? I mean, there's two classes together, 10, 10, 10, you know, I mean, I'm just throwing this out, but, you know, it'd be nice to kind of brand this with something, so students could say, oh, I'm doing 10, 10. So anyway,
Is
we
there-
are going to have to get our heads around
Do
some
we know
numbers
there's not
across the
another
board.
1010 in the university? Are there other 1010s floating around?
Yeah, that's what we'll
other-
have to find out.
That are not core?
But it would be nice if we could, even if they are, we'll just ignore them. Anyway, but we should find out. But anyway, I'm just saying, we're gonna have to get our heads around the 10 numbers, so get used to it.
All right, thank you very much.